Hey everybody, Jamie Kelly here. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Season 3 of the Approximate Podcast. Be sure to join our Patreon for only $5 a month to see all of Season 3's episodes in full HD video. That's patreon.com/approximate podcast. If you're already a patron, thank you so much for your support. And to everyone who's tuned in, we love you all. And now, on with the show. Kitty! Fucking stop it! God damn it. Fucking cat. Yeah, you. Oi. Scrapple. Stop it. Alright, cut. We're done. Fucking cat. God damn it.
I'm still very much learning about the industry and everything that goes into it and trying to meet all these new people and how to get in touch with them for like trade content or like to, you know, just to know them so that when I go to film with them professionally, like on a set, I'm not just like going in blind, you know?
Right. You've been very busy since then.
A little bit, yeah. I've been pretty busy, mostly with just my personal channels and stuff like that. So,
yeah, doing the trade round. Yeah,
I'm making my rounds.
Yep.
Which is a much bigger thing nowadays.
Yep, getting the bills paid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, how'd you get your start in the industry?
Well, that actually kind of goes back a little far. So,
Oh, awesome. Story time.
Yeah. Ready for it.
So I kind of started doing sex work I wouldn't say pretty young. I was like 22, maybe. I was like 22 when I technically started.
Same age.
But like OnlyFans wasn't like a big thing
Not at all. Yeah.
back then. And I was really only like selling like nudes and stuff through Snapchat and everything. And like, you know, people would like Venmo me for, you know, content essentially. And I just kept doing that for years and years. And then I just officially like stopped when I started like working an actual job. And I was a waitress for a really long time at this small mom and pop shop over in Bingen, Washington, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Super out in the boonies.
Gotcha. So for people that don't know, you're coming from the Northwest coast.
Yeah,
right?
the PNW. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a Pacific Northwest girl. West Coast.
Born there or?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
I pretty much lived all up and down the Pacific Northwest my whole life. Like I've gone, my parents moved around a lot too. Like I wouldn't go to like 7 different schools, I think, in the course of maybe 3 years.
Oh, I can absolutely relate to that. I was in a family that just every year it was a new school. Every year I had to meet a whole new group of friends.
Yep.
I get the moving around, very chaotic. I have a little bit of experience with the Upper West Coast. When I was 10, I lived for about a year in Tacoma, Washington.
Tacoma.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I do have very fond memories of like visiting Seattle and the Puget Sound. And in fact, I was, don't want to give away my age, but everybody knows I'm fucking Methuselah. But when I was a kid and living in Tacoma, literally, and I didn't find this out till years later, but just down the street from the house I lived in, Nirvana was just becoming a garage band.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was, I had no idea that I was that close to that kind of history. It was
Right?
a neat thing.
Wow.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that Nirvana originated in Tacoma.
Well, yeah. Tacoma and of course that whole larger like Seattle area.
That's with what is his name? God, I sound like an asshole for not remembering these names.
Oh no worries. No, it's Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain,
and,
yes,
Chris
thank you.
Novoselic and
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I promise I listen to these people on the regular. I am so bad with names.
It wasn't. Isn't the drummer of the Foo Fighters? Wasn't he like the original? drummer?
Yeah, he was the original drummer. I do remember that.
Yeah, old Dave.
Dave
Grohl.
Grohl. Yeah.
Drummer for Nirvana, and then and like a million other bands. He came from D.C. He came from Washington D.C. and came in on one of many auditions for Nirvana.
Yeah.
They loved his power. They loved his sound. He was effortless, and he just completed the band. And that's the threesome that we know of as Nirvana. And then,
I
of
love
course,
threesomes.
yeah, went on to went on to form the Foo Fighters. And there we go. Yeah.
Awesome. So you said you do a lot of self-producing now. Like, what's some of your favorite scenes you've produced?
Probably my content with Steve Ricks is always top notch because he's very professional, obviously, and he's super cute to work with. He does really good work. He has a really nice setup, and I just love how, professional grade it comes out. And we have like really good chemistry too. So
It's always great.
There's so many names in this industry. I'm not familiar with that one. Now, is this just I'm going to sound like an ass. Is he just like a performer that just shoots his own stuff? Does he work for a company? Is he part of a larger?
Oh yeah, no, he films for like Biphoria and stuff like that. Like he's
a
like,
cinematographer. He's like a behind the scenes.
oh no, he's an actual performer.
He's
Like,
a performer.
He's in the
okay, okay.
scenes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, he's like a blonde. He's blonde. He's got a blonde beard. He's super cute. But yeah, he's like,
I'm going to send him a copy of this episode and make sure that he.
Let him know how bad we fucked up his yeah.
But yeah, no, I always love the content that we make.
Yeah.
We have very good chemistry. We became fast friends essentially. But yeah, all my content with him always turns out top notch.
That's such an underrated thing too. Like chemistry, you can't fake it.
Yeah.
You cannot fake it.
You really can't. Like people can, like, it surprised me how much the viewers can tell just by looking at the video that like, oh, this person's actually not really into it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. One of my favorite things to tell performers who I produce, the folks that I shoot when they're on set, especially like new folks and first-time performers, is that, you can wear all the makeup you want, but nothing beats like that organic feel. And the best makeup you could possibly wear is a genuine smile.
Literally.
That light up a scene more than lights and makeup. And
Oh, yeah.
you go in with a good smile and you're paired with a performer that you actually have chemistry with. Bam, the scene sells itself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're done. That's all the hard work right there.
Most of my content that I film, like just that's not studio work, I don't really wear makeup for it.
Really?
Yeah, I actually am very against wearing makeup when I film because I don't like the messiness that comes with it,
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
You don't like the disheveled look?
I think it's hot on other people, but not me.
I get it.
you
I
know?
get it. Yeah. So are you into more like sensual stuff or rougher
yeah.
stuff or?
Oh yeah, no, I love sensual. I do like a little rough, but
yeah.
I've never been a fan of pain.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I hate pain so much. But I do love like sensual play and like passion. I really love passion and I feed off that. I feed off passion and
Biggest thing, yeah.
yeah, literally.
Yeah, you can't not fake passion either. Passion or chemistry, and that's just essential into a good scene.
Honestly, and like some of the performers that I work with like regularly have some of the best. We have like some of the best chemistry and like in our scenes and like passion, and that's why I continue to work with them. And I'm so skeptical of like working with new people just because I don't know if I haven't met them before, I should say.
Of course.
I'm just because I'm very passionate and very like,
I think a really good practice, and maybe, for those who may be watching this or listening to it, that are new to the industry, I think it's good practice, especially if you get hit up for trade content with somebody just kind of coming out of the blue, is to like maybe set up a lunch. Get to like meet them first.
Yes.
See how you vibe before you agree to anything. Mm-hmm. That's a really, I think, important thing to do.
Of course, do your research
Of course.
leading up to that, and then set up some kind of lunch or coffee or something.
Yeah, always be
and vibe.
investigating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've recently learned how important it is to do your research. Mostly because like I need to see their dick and know what I'm getting myself into. Because like not to brag, but I have a tight pussy also.
Tight girl club.
I'm a tight girl, and like some of the people that I worked with have been not so fun to work with just because of their size. Great chemistry, great rapport, but just like the size of their dick just like literally impales me. I feel like I'm being impaled.
Takes you out of it, especially because you're not into pain at all. So yeah, totally.
If I was into pain, I would probably be really excited for it.
Like I'm into pain and I can take it during the, scene, but after the scene, I'm like, oh God, why did I do that?
Why did I do that? Yeah, you know why? $1,500. That's why you did it.
Exactly.
You say that you're going to be moving soon.
I am, yes.
You're getting out of the West Coast, huh?
I am. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of opportunity for studio work out there. There is a good fair amount of other sex workers and that you can do trade content with, but the sad part is that most of them don't really know how to effectively produce and run their own show, let alone how to work with somebody else.
Right, a big talent pool, but no real infrastructure to get scenes appropriately shot.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of people willing to do the work, but nobody that knows how to do.
Yeah.
Nobody who knows how to turn the gears.
Yeah. No, like behind
totally
the scenes
understand.
professionals.
Yeah, exactly. And like there's a lot of like what I like to call like talent moms, which are those women who are like, or men who are like, oh yeah, we should film together. I have an OnlyFans, but they don't post to their OnlyFans. They're not even verified. They're just like wanting to fuck.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They have the OnlyFans.
This guy with camera stuff.
Yeah, dude with camera.
It's the stuff you avoid, honestly.
Yeah, that's and there's so much of that out there. And
There really is.
I really don't want to have to go through the trouble of making like a dozen consent forms that
Oh my God, right?
I'm going to have to, keep on file and, give those to, OnlyFans and everything. And so many people are sketched out by the fact that they have to like have a picture of them holding their ID. It's like, no, I'm not going to use this against you. This is for business. Okay.
It's going in a drawer. No one's ever going to see it.
Exactly. And they're so afraid of having and it's a lot of closeted guys who are into trans women.
I'm straight, but
I'm straight, but.
Yeah. I'm straight, but check this out.
Yeah.
There are, and in a place like that, and it seems to be that there's a lot of them in like Oregon, Washington, the Pacific Northwest kind of area, that they have the gumption, they have the drive, they want to do it, but they don't understand that it is first and foremost a business, and that we are here to create a product and entertain. They're not entertainers, and they see, just because the bar is so low for entry to get into this business, they confuse lifestyle, and a lot of them come as fans, and they think they're gonna just manifest the fantasy that they see when they're looking at porn online.
Yeah,
and they completely miscompobulate what it is to actually do the job versus what you see as the end product.
Yeah, no, they glamorize the entire thing, like because there's a lot of like Netflix does a ton of specials on like what it's like to be a porn star, and a lot of it looks very glamorized. In my opinion, a lot of it looks very glamorized when they don't actually go into like every little detail that goes into being a porn star.
I think it's more sensationalized and glamorized because they, some of those documentaries on porn are just like, some of them are by anti-porn people.
Exactly.
Behind it.
Absolutely.
Like the ones with Rashida. Crazy.
It's all about making it as salacious as possible to get people to watch it without any care for for telling the truth.
Yeah,
exactly. They're in the business to entertain, just like we are.
Yeah.
But they're selling a false narrative, in my opinion.
Oh no, absolutely. No.
In a way, that's not okay, because when we sell a false narrative, it's understood we're creating fantasy. Yeah. When they sell a false narrative, it's actually damaging.
Yeah.
For real people.
Yeah, exactly.
Livelihoods, safety, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Going back to the point of like the barrier entry being so low, you don't know how many times, and I talk about this because you've said that you've had experience in it too. How many times a client will be like, oh, I want to shoot. Let's shoot.
Yeah, no, all the time. Like I started recently doing like stuff from my Snapchat, like a private snap. and which is also on sale for $3.99.
Hey, there you go. Plug.
There it is.
Yeah, there you go.
But ever since I started doing that and like posting like nudes and small clips, it's first of all, it's so easy to maintain. It's very easy to maintain because you don't film anything over a minute. And if you do, it's all broken up into segments. And it's just so easy to manage that. The only thing that takes a little while to do is to like respond to everybody, but bear with me, I'll get there.
But see, the clients that ask us to actually shoot, they don't a lot of times don't understand that there's going to be, highlights, there's going to be stopping and starting, they're going to have to keep their dick hard for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
They're going to have to not come so fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I tell, if someone is interested and I'm interested in either their aesthetic or like I see potential in them as a performer when they send a really good dick pic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When I see them have potential, the first thing I ask them is, first of all, are you tested?
Of course.
And if you're not tested, you need to be tested within 14 days.
Yeah.
So,
Keeping it professional. Absolutely.
Keeping it very professional.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to sign a consent form. I have to take photos of you holding your ID and front and back of your ID the same way that any studio would do it.
Yeah, that's another thing too. They're like, "Oh crap, you gotta take photos of my face and photos of my ID and stuff." Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, that's not going to end up on the actual page.
Yeah.
That's just for OnlyFans records to know I'm not fucking minors.
Absolutely. And I'm like, I always tell them, I'm like, it's gonna be in a fucking drawer. No one's ever gonna see it.
Exactly.
And some of them catch on, and they're like, okay, cool. And and the other ones are like, oh, I can't do that. That took me out of it right there. I was totally down for the POV blowjob and everything, but
exactly. As soon as they figure out that it's not a fantasy, suddenly they're not into it. It's like, honey, what did you think this was? We are selling and creating a fantasy just for you.
Absolutely.
And you want to be a part of it, which I'm not against. There's just hurdles that you have to jump through, unfortunately.
Oh, absolutely.
I think with all things in like the creative arts or art, or especially in entertainment, like forward-facing, media, there kind of is, and it's not going to sound fair, but there is an it factor. There is a bit of an it factor.
Yeah, exactly.
And everything is cool about like having that initial spark. And then paying your dues and learning along the way, so long as you're vested in learning and discovering and trying to purposely do better and like being self-aware.
Yeah.
And, everybody has to start
Somewhere.
from zero.
Yeah.
But eventually there's going to come a point where you realize, okay, I ought to be doing this. There's a lot of people that continue to do it that probably never caught that train, and they're just doing it because they're trying to, again, mostly it's going to be people that are trying to perpetuate a lifestyle, so
Yeah.
They
No,
get the
I
sex side.
100% agree with you. Like, there's some people just have it in them, and then some people, unfortunately, do not.
Just don't.
And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that either.
and there is I want to be as fair as possible. There is a place for just about everyone. Not everybody's going to be a top tier, top of
amateur
the pop
porn
star.
is a big thing.
But if you can't be that, but you can specialize in something and you make people happy, dive into that thing that you're good at, and you can still, put a roof over your head
absolutely,
and like be healthy and of sound mind within the niches of this business. They say niches make riches, but still it takes the same amount of discipline to, know what you can specialize in. Just the same way that people that are perceived to be at the very top, it doesn't, some things come easy, but you still got to work. I've seen
I come easy.
I've seen the prettiest people that seem like they have everything going for them completely fail because they have almost everything it takes, except their heart's not in it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It can. You see a lot of it on social media, and it can be like it can fool you. You can look at social media and go, oh, and you can start to do that thing where you get envious or whatever, and you
Yeah.
look, but you realize the more people that you get to know in this industry, the more you start to go, oh no, everybody's human and everybody's fighting a
Exactly.
war inside their head that
Yeah.
I can't account for.
Yeah.
And this is why I've stopped.
Yeah.
Like, I just literally use the few bits of social media to just promote, and then I stay away. I stay away because I don't
Yeah.
want to. I've been in this business, forever, and I had these like peaks and valleys where I go, no, it's kind of unhealthy to like constantly be online. And now I'm at a point where it's like, I've seen it all, I've done it all, and it's very healthy for me to
Take a step back.
take a step back, not utilize it. I'm much more concerned and being happy with like living a real life.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
not viewing our industry through the scope of social media and how people are promoting and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because it does not pertain to reality.
And you can't compare yourself to somebody too, especially on social media, because it's all
Exactly.
fabricated.
It is.
all
It's
the best parts.
100%. It's 100%. You're seeing the smallest part of somebody, the smallest window possible.
And it's curated
Oh, yeah.
for
Yeah.
you to look at. So you know
Exactly.
nothing. It's for fans,
Exactly.
So
They say a
Content.
picture's worth 1,000 words, but really, it's only worth a few.
in porn, it's only worth a few.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You were talking about like comparing yourself to other performers and everything. I've noticed
Yeah.
myself, like when I first started, I noticed myself doing that a lot. But it was also a motivational factor because I wanted to be like these girls who are very successful or appear to be. And I wanted to emulate that. So, I did my research. I studied them. I seen what their it factor was, and I was like, okay, what's my it factor then? What is good for me?
That's great that you were like able to individualize it. You were like, okay, this girl has this thing going on, but what do I have going on, and what do I have to offer?
Yeah.
That's a good way to compare yourself, I think. And I think it's kind of natural to do that. I just think that you can't keep comparing yourself based off of like, what they're getting, everything they're doing and stuff like that. Oh, they're getting that shoot. I want to get that shoot. Da, 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 da,
Yeah.
da. And even if you do want to get that shoot, you reach out to that company because you probably get that shoot, especially
Yeah.
if you have a good look and a good presence and all that stuff like that. Like, it's really, honestly, networking is the biggest thing in this industry.
A company that I've wanted to work with the most is also one of the most like essentially controversial for, girls like us, like trans women, and that is Brazzers.
Oh, okay.
I've
Yeah.
wanted to work for them ever since I seen like Cora Del Rio, Emma Rose, and Daisy Taylor on their site, and I was like, "Ugh, I would love to do that." So obviously, this was way back, a little after I had just started, and I was like, okay, how am I going to get on there? How am I going to get them to notice me? So, after I had performed for, Trans Angels and Gender X a couple of times, I was like, okay, I feel confident enough in myself that I could probably reach out and maybe they would respond. They didn't.
Well, now here's the thing, though. The more studio
you're gonna
shoots, you probably already know.
Yeah.
The more studio shoots you have, the more you become
Credibility.
disillusioned as to like what authority
Oh,
is.
yeah.
So you want to work for Brazzers, but you've worked for the biggest things that we have. You've worked for the Trans Angels. You work for probably a litany of sites under the adult time. You've worked for Groovy. You've worked for huge names. There comes a point where you're like, oh, it's just the same $1,200 to $1,500, and I'm showing up, and I'm tired,
Yeah.
and I gotta. Do I remember that? I can't remember that fucking third line.
Literally.
And it's all the same. So whether it's Brazzers or whether it's Angels, it's all the same gig.
It really is.
And so at some point, like, I don't recommend anybody like purposely becoming jaded. But once you have enough experience, you should realize just how unimportant it really is to go, oh, them, oh, them, oh, them. You just take the gigs that you can get and you work on
Honestly.
yourself.
Yeah.
And whatever comes is gravy because it's still showing up on time, spending money on a plane ticket, getting tested, working out your schedule, doing things
Reaching
at the
out.
11th hour, reaching out, networking on set. It's all the same gig
I do see the draw though to want to do it, and of course, the companies are just making money, and they're realizing that they can make money now. So the companies that weren't shooting trans are now shooting trans, but like I feel like there's a small part of like the girl who wants to work for those companies that's like, I could be part of pushing this thing forward.
Yeah.
Like I can be part of like
A movement,
opening up
essentially.
doors for
Yeah.
more girls and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And-
Like when I was doing submissive stuff for kink, I was one of the
Yeah.
first ones out of like 3 or 4 girls. And I was like, oh shit, I hope a lot of girls are able to do this. I hope they open up submissive sites. Of course they haven't yet because, politics or whatever, but
Politics. Yeah, no, I completely see what you're saying. I definitely wanted to be like one of those girls who created opportunities for others. And I think that's my like superhero factor in my head. Who's like my what do they call it? A savior's
Savior
complex.
Savior complex.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of that.
Just a little bit. But also I think it's also the recognition is like, pat myself on the back. I was one of the few
Yeah.
who were able to like get onto this site that is just opening their doors for,
Yeah.
girls like us. And
It's also putting like girls like us in front of their audiences, which is like
Exactly.
predominantly like cisgender porn, and then
Yeah.
like piloting them to it and getting them hooked on it and stuff, and
Yeah.
in turn
And
making
also-
things better for. Go ahead.
and also making them realize that liking trans porn and discovering trans porn is okay.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I was about to say. Yeah, opening their minds to understanding that trans porn is not gross. Like it's hot. Watch
it is hot. Please watch me.
Yeah. So, like, what's one of the things that you would teach somebody, like, outside of professional, like, sex work, that wanted to be a better sexual partner? Like, what's some advice you'd give them to actually, like, make you come or, like, have a better experience sexually?
You know what I really like about this question is that everybody's going to have a different answer because
Absolutely.
now we're literally talking about your personal preferences and
Yep.
where you come from as a person. So this is
Yeah.
very interesting to hear.
I would say if I was to teach somebody how to be a better lover, to me personally, because I can't speak for others, but the things that I like are not super generic, but they are pretty like, mundane. Like I'm into the vanilla stuff. Okay, I like missionary. I like the passion. I love the romance. I love the chase. It's all about the build up to sex because for me,
Foreplay.
it's all about the foreplay for me, honestly.
Anticipation.
The anticipation.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the whole process leading up to the sex because by that time I'm so turned on, anything will probably turn me on,
Awesome.
So it's very, listen to your partner, listen to like what they want, and definitely pay attention to the things that they like, even outside of sex, because you could essentially use that and like be like, okay, well, she's really into like outdoors. I'm gonna fuck her against that tree.
Hell yeah.
You're actually like landing on a bigger conversation, which is like with all things human.
Yeah.
Communication.
Yeah,
gosh.
The
exactly.
communication
So underrated.
is everything.
really
Yes.
is.
Like how are you going to know about somebody without actually communicating with them? Like, don't
Exactly.
think you know everything. That's when you
Exactly.
got a lot to learn.
Like you want to turn me on, you have to communicate with my girl brain, okay?
Absolutely.
Like I think differently than you. I'm not so physical. I need stimulation mentally.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's
Jinx,
hot.
you owe me a Coke.
Whatever.
We spoke at the same time. I said jinx. Yeah, so I take it that, I mean, we kind of touched on this before, but I'd imagine, based off of what I've heard so far, that maybe some of your more favorite scenes to do actually incorporate a lot of maybe forward, like narrative storytelling before the actual act actually
some build
happens.
up.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do. Don't get me wrong. I do love the gonzo stuff, but I'm all about like that foreplay and the lead up to it. It's, like it's just so stimulating.
Hell yeah.
It's
Oh,
so it makes me tingle all over when he's touching, or they, you know, I'm
Of course, yeah.
pansexual, I don't really care. And like whenever they are touching me, and it's like they touch me in those right places, like, you know, caressing the hips and then touching like, you know, the shoulder, the arm, clasping hands together. It's like kissing the neck. It's like, oh my God, that is the stuff that gets me going. And that's the shit that makes me hard. Okay.
Those
Yeah.
details matter. Those little
details
details
matter.
absolutely matter.
Oh my God, a good neck kiss or like a whisper in the ear, a lick on the
Yes.
earlobe. Oh my God.
God.
Send shivers up my spine, right?
Literally. And by that time, like, I'm just, if you can pull that off, which is, by the way, so easy. And like, I'm like, the more trans girls and cis women that I've worked with, they understand that, and that's the thing that they do, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas a lot of the times when you're working with men, sometimes they don't know. They don't know it. They don't. They just want to stick it in and have fun for themselves.
I feel like there's this thing in like, especially cisgender porn, where the man is like needing to be kind of surly. He's kind of he needs to be kind of rude. He's like,
Yeah,
take it.
almost. I don't get that. That's strictly for the male pleasure. That is like, have you watched female porn?
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
sure,
Like
Sure.
it's so different.
Yeah.
It is so different.
It really is. It really is.
It's so much more sensual, and like the men actually get it. They know what to do.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say I don't like those kind of things. Like you can definitely add like choking and biting and stuff for me.
Definitely.
You know, but absolutely, it's good to just let the chemistry flow and have somebody who knows how to hit those erogenous zones and stuff. Oh,
Exactly.
God.
Like,
There may be an explanation as to why that is, and we have to like step back and remember that trans porn is a small portion of the overall pie, and
Oh, yeah.
in cisgender porn, there's so much more of a talent pool. There's so much more people that are actually seasoned and take their job professionally, just because of the sheer like rule of large numbers. We're still, I mean, even today, even though like we've been legitimized, quote unquote, for a good handful of years, we're still punk rock.
we really are.
Trans
Yeah.
porn is still very punk rock, and our talent pool is a lot
Punk rock in the
smaller,
60s.
right? Yeah.
Well, I feel like our porn production has pulled out of the 90s, but
Yeah.
we're
Right.
still very much
Our
punk
and
rock.
to say all that is to say that our talent pool, the people that we have to work with that are available to us, aren't as seasoned, and
Yeah.
a lot of them are coming in thinking, that trans porn is like a niche fetishy thing, and it is just about men leading with their dicks first, just so that they can be a part of our bodies.
Yeah.
And so the more I imagine in time, the more that we grow, the larger the talent pool gets, the more seriously people take what we do and take their own career seriously, the more that we're going to be able to enjoy the same kind of scenes, scenarios, real life, and on camera.
Oh, yeah.
That will allow us to like have things smooth out, and we will get to enjoy the same kind of experiences that like mainstream porn gets to enjoy.
My huge, my huge wish, my huge like ambition being in this industry is like, and it may sound very conceited, but it comes from a genuine place. I really want to open doors into mainstream porn for trans women. And I know that sounds a little conceited, like, oh, what does she think she can do? It's like, well, I know myself, and I know that I'm determined enough that I feel like I could do it.
The good news is there's a good amount of people that think just like you do, and
That's why we're as far as we are right now.
Yeah.
because of people pushing forward and thinking, what can I do to help?
Yeah.
What can I help? What can I do to help? And it's not just I'm doing this to grab a bit of money and pay for a habit, or I'm trying to like self-validate. It becomes less of a selfish endeavor, and you're thinking of that. You're absolutely thinking of your career, and you're thinking of how you can be as a better performer, but you're keeping a more grand view in mind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, how what you're doing is going to affect the larger community. And that's not conceited. That is a great way to think. We need people like that so that we can stand up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My big thing is like separating fetish away from trans. Like, just like
Yeah. That's
trans
like
is
a
not
great-
the fetish. Like, you know, you want to do
Exactly.
fetish, let's get into some feet, let's get into some rope, all that stuff, you know?
Trans should never have been listed under a fetish, in my opinion. Like, it should never have been associated with a fetish because it's wrong to fetishize people. Like, we don't fetishize
Absolutely.
like normal cis women. Why would we fetishize trans women?
Yeah, I mean, we have the fetish of like slut and whore and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I think that's universal. That can be applied to
Exactly.
anybody.
But
Men are sluts.
Rooted in misogyny, sure, but like, you know,
But that's built into the fantasy play. No, we're talking
Yeah.
about people being fetishized.
Oh, absolutely.
We see it like we talk as trans people, but it's also very common for like African American dudes.
oh
Yeah.
yes.
Talk about a fetishized
yeah.
people, just
yeah.
people being fetishized.
Yeah, the whole just the size of the penis and like the skin color and stuff. Like I try to talk to every girl who says that BBC shit. I'm like, hey girl, it's just a big dick.
They're a person. Yeah.
It's just a big dick. Like you don't have to market it as interracial.
Yeah. And I feel like those things go hand in hand with each other. You know, more people who are under that sort of umbrella, you know, the fetish umbrella, like that, if they're uncomfortable with it or if it makes them, you know, want to see change in that, I feel like all of us need to like group together, you know?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Because like we're on kind of on the front lines of it. Like we're the people that see, you know, these things when they look them up, you know, and if we say, hey, you know, that's not really what it is here. Like, and that's not really what you should be looking for.
I just want to see everyone happy.
Right.
Everyone, you know, treated equal.
Yeah.
And it like
Everybody needs to eat.
Exactly. Yeah.
now you and I got to speak a little bit beforehand before we started rolling tape and everything. I think this would be a perfect opportunity to talk about something that I know that you're passionate about, and that is like health and healthcare services
Oh, yeah.
across the like. I wanted you to say before the podcast, so if you could kind of lean into that and
Oh, yeah.
tell us what your thoughts are.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, obviously, I've, you know, revealed that I'm moving to Vegas around August. So excited for that, by the way.
Can't wait to have you.
But one of my concerns is, like, what is the healthcare out here like for trans women?
Oh, so we actually have a pretty good LGBTQ center that has like it's called the Center, and it's not only serving trans women, of course. The whole umbrella of the LGBTQ IA plus,
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they have all kinds of services there. Very comprehensive
Comprehensive.
testing and stuff like that with swabs and everything that don't. And I'm not knocking the industries testing things, of course, because we got the windows, the turnaround windows and stuff like that, that usually yank the price up. But like they're very affordable for the whole comprehensive test and then the swabs and everything. And then of course they have, they recommend resources for hormones and all that stuff. Like I'm actually, as long as you have a decent, insurance plan,
Okay. Yeah.
you can get an endocrinologist, but the waiting lists out here are like kind of,
Yeah.
I was supposed to have an appointment in January, February, March, and they actually didn't have me scheduled, so they pushed me back to August.
Oh, really?
I was like, well, fuck, I'm just gonna have to go back on gray market, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to definitely get back on endo because that's how I started out first. And
Yeah,
they do
me
have the
too.
options out here.
Yeah. Like I have an endocrinologist. I would rather keep my endocrinologist, but I know that moving here, that's probably not something that can happen unless, I fly back there for all of my appointments. And I would have to keep my same insurance, which doesn't make sense too if I'm living in a different state.
Right.
But like, I have such anxiety about like having to stop my hormones.
Oh God.
Like it's it's like almost debilitating. Like whenever I am like close to running out, I'm on the phone with the fucking, pharmacy being like, hey, I need these refilled. Please, please, can you refill them, please?
Oh, absolutely.
Like it's pretty bad. And being on it for so long, I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna have to stop, like what's gonna happen? Like I've had to stop before when I was younger. When I was about I started my transition around like 16 and a half, 17. And around when I was like 19 turning 20, there was a time when I didn't really have a job. I didn't have a car. I was living out with a friend and I was on hormones, but I couldn't get access to a ride to visit my endocrinologist, so they couldn't write me a new script, for, check my levels and everything, make sure I'm still good. And I ended up I couldn't get to them. They were an hour and a half away. So it was really terrifying because I had to wait for, I think it was like a month and a half. I went without hormones. And I know that probably doesn't sound like a long time, but it was literally probably the worst month and a half of my entire life. Just watching all the progress that I had made melt away is what I felt like,
Yeah, that anxiety's rough. I get it.
Fortunately, with hormones, as long as you've been on good, I think it's it's a few years. I think as long as you've been on a number of years and you have progress, the only thing that goes away is your fat redistribution.
Yeah.
Like everything else that you've made progress in stays. Like your tits don't they stop developing, but they don't
still tits.
go backwards.
Yeah.
They don't go backwards. And of course, being a trans person, it's a lot of it's all mental, right? So that doesn't go away at all. I've actually been off of hormones for 2 years and I'm just getting back on. And just pretty much out of COVID, couldn't get a hold of them. And then they discontinued some of the things and stuff, but that's all personal stuff. But
yeah.
Getting back on them though, it feels really good. So I can totally relate to what you mean being off for a month. And I can also relate to having to travel a distance to get to your endocrinologist, because when I started, I was in a small town in North Texas and I had to go 2 hours to DFW to go get my endo.
Yeah.
And like my grandparents were like taking me. So yeah, it was like, it was something.
It's really hard. It really is. And it's just really hard. I can't think of any other words to describe it other than it's literally debilitating.
Well, it's like when that fucking ring goes off, you're just like, I got to do it. And I don't really give a fuck what it's going to take, because I'm not going to be happy this way. So I got to find happiness.
So like, that's one of the things that if I am like, which I am, I'm going to be moving down here, but like, I'm going to have to like get a hold of them beforehand, like get in contact with the endos out here and be like, hey, I'm moving to you guys in like some odd months. Is there any way that I can get scheduled for around the time that I arrive so that I can, be seen and evaluated and get on hormones?
I'd recommend that you contact them as soon as possible because there's a wait list.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, essentially.
Just for new patients, not for like transgender in general, but just like new patients.
New patients, yeah.
Yeah, essentially it's just going to be a lot of phone tag and a little bit of waiting and maybe not getting things exactly how you're used to having them. Yeah. But once you're here, things will smooth out within just a matter of months and you'll be right on track.
Yeah.
Everything will turn out. You just, that due diligence of the boring, mundane calling people and waiting. But that, once it's all done, you look back on it, you'll feel like anxious in the moment. You feel like the world is falling apart. And then when it's all done, you look back and you won't even remember the months it took you to get it all smoothed out. It'll be just fine.
Yeah.
I promise. You'll be okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And
that's reassuring.
And you're still like super young. So like you still got plenty of time to progress off of HRT and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever really stop, because I've seen girls who are like, older, later transitioners. And when they get on hormones, 6 months and a year later, these girls start.
There have been times in my life where I've just dropped out for 6 months. There have been times in my life where I just couldn't make ends meet, and I just had to let a couple months go by. It's all fine. I'm still here. I'm still, it's everything's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have to ride out the rough spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, disclaimer: the thing I'm about to say for the listening audience, especially new girls coming up, I don't endorse this. This is a thing that worked for me personally in my life, and I come from a slightly different age, but I stockpile gray market material.
Yeah.
So if I ever run into a problem, I know I can take care of myself. I have no problem sticking myself with needles. I
No
I know
specific addresses, not magazines with addresses on them.
Right. I do a lot of gray market stuff, and I won't go into those details because I don't want to give anybody. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to give anybody any kind of false information or lead them down weird roads.
Yeah.
But over just outside of the camera in my cabinet, I have safety measures, is what I'll say. So it's just that due diligence of taking care of yourself. So long as you're moving forward and you're just going through the bullshit and going through the hoops that we have to dive through, and you do it, it's okay. It's like anything else. You put in a little bit of effort, you'll make things work fine.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's actually an interesting point that you bring up, like self-medicating, because I did do that when I first started my transition back when I was like 16. Like I would order my pills that they came in like, just the typical like estrogen pills. They came in a little tin thing.
Yeah.
And, when I was working as a cashier at a restaurant, I would like have to ask my mom, be like, hey, can you buy this for me? And reluctantly she did, because I was like, very distraught about it, to the point where it was like she was actually worried about me. She's like, okay. So she did. And she knew it was going to be a while before I seen an endocrinologist. And, she was more concerned about my well-being than she was with her own beliefs, which I really appreciate.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
That's fortunate.
Yeah, it's not common enough, honestly. Too many people let their personal beliefs and all that shit get caught up in people's well-being and health and happiness and stuff like that, especially when it's not affecting them at fucking all.
Literally. Like I was the one paying for it,
Yeah.
Basically took care of myself, in that aspect.
So humble beginnings, you're going to look back on this, and this is part of your story. And it's, so many of us that are trans, I mean, we have very similar stories. Now we're kind of coming up to the bleeding edge of the podcast. So
Time flies.
I know, time flies.
I know.
That's how you know you're having a good conversation.
Right.
But to kind of put a bow on it, I'm going to come out of fucking left field here and ask you. Now, you've been in the industry for how many years?
Professionally, will be my second.
Okay, second year, but you have a lot of work under your belt.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to ask you, for people that are listening, especially, I keep saying this, new folks in the industry that might be catching this podcast, if you had 3 bits of advice, as quick as you can, under the gun now, you're under pressure.
Okay.
3 bits of solid advice that you live by right now as a person in the industry that you could give to other people that are just coming up, what would those things be?
Manage yourself, and don't be afraid to accept criticism, because there will be a lot of it, and especially if you're working in a professional setting, like under a like groupie, like a studio shoot, like be willing to accept criticism and take that and learn from it. And if you're not really a people person, this industry isn't for you. So sorry. Yeah. You have to be good with people and be good with your scene partners.
That's fantastic advice. I love it.
Yeah,
all of that rings true.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me go ahead and wrap this up. This has been fucking amazing. I am so glad that you came to be on the show.
Me too.
I love that we got to work together previously. I know that you're moving here. We're going to cross paths many times in the future.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I'm super stoked for the future.
Thank you so much for coming through.
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
had such a great time.
Fucking A. I love it. So with that being said, Asia Belle, everybody. All right. This is the Approximate Podcast, and we'll see you next time for another Approximate Podcast.